Ladies and gentlemen, we have an update on the case involving Illinois and the city of Chicago versus Donald Trump and his administration. Up at the Circuit Court of Appeals, they've unfortunately done the same thing that they did to Oregon's lawsuit in Donald Trump. Is they've allowed Donald Trump to illegally keep control of the federal government, of the Illinois National Guard, but they've blocked his ability to illegally deploy them for now. Let's get into this reporting by Democracy Docket. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, when is enough enough? When are the armed forces gonna say F it and go after him? Something's gotta give for them to do it. 'Cause if I were the National Guard, if I was the high-ranking commanding officer of the Illinois National Guard or the Oregon National Guard, I'd tell them, don't deploy. Whatever it takes, do not deploy. Do not engage in the president's illegal activity. And I'd tell them to instead go after him. Let's get into this new reporting by Democracy Docket. The article, ladies and gentlemen, is titled Appeals Court Allows Trump to Keep Control of Illinois National Guard but Bars Deployment. Ladies and gentlemen, and the article reads, a federal appeals court temporarily allowed the Trump administration to keep control of keep the control of the National Guard under federal command in Illinois, but blocked its use for active deployment. The 7th Circuit Court of Appeals issued the emergency order Saturday, granting the administration's request for a stay as to the federalization of the National Guard, but denying it as to the deployment of the National Guard. Pending a decision on the request for a stay pending appeal, the District Court's October 9, 2025 order is temporarily stayed only to the extent it enjoined the federalization of the National Guard of the United States within Illinois. The order reads, the ruling means the Illinois National Guard remains under federal authority, at least for now, but cannot be used on the ground in Chicago or elsewhere in the state. The court added that members of the National Guard do not need to return to their home states unless further ordered by a court to do so. The decision came just 2 days after U.S. District Judge April M. Perry temporarily blocked Trump's plan to deploy National Guard troops as part of Operation Midway Blitz, a multi-state immigration enforcement initiative that Illinois officials have condemned as unconstitutional. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday's order offered a partial reprieve for Trump, leaving the federal government with the authority to assert command over Guard units, but unable to send them into Chicago communities for enforcement or patrol. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Democrat, and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson hailed the district court's earlier decision as a stand for state sovereignty and civil rights. The partial stay now creates a legal limbo, one that could shape how far the federal government can go in using military forces within U.S. borders without a state's consent. The appellate panel did not indicate when it would rule on the broader appeal, but the administrative stay will remain in place while judges consider the full motion. The Seventh Circuit's decision is similar to one delivered earlier this week from the Ninth Circuit in Oregon, where judges likewise allowed federal control of the National Guard to continue while blocking its deployment. The fight over Trump's use of the National Guard underscores a deeper struggle between state control and federal power, and between democratic norms and authoritarian impulses. Even as the order paused of Illinois' victory, it reaffirmed an essential limit that the president's troops cannot yet march into Chicago's streets.